Hi, my name is Kaveri. Welcome to Tara's Home. I've been meaning to do a small introduction video to my channel and explain really what motivated me to start this channel because I'm not a media person. I've always been very camera shy, to be very honest, and so doing something like this is really taking a very big bold step. So I must say that one of the most important objectives of this channel is to try and motivate other people to live a more sustainable and environmentally conscious life. I've been on this journey for the last 10 years. If you're not, please don't worry because, to be honest, for the larger part of my life, I have been exactly the opposite. I've, shopped a lot, consumed a lot without really thinking about the consequences to the environment. And so my journey perhaps began about, say about 12 to 14 years ago. I was a student in Switzerland for some time, and so given the limited salary I had, I began getting an introduction into buying more sustainably, buying in second-hand shops. So that was really my first step into buying things that were already used by somebody. You can imagine, as an Indian, we don't like using clothes and things that other people have used. So it took me a lot of effort to sort of get over so many of those initial biases. And then I discovered really that you could lead a much higher quality of life, and the kind of things that you could buy second hand were most often of much better quality than the first hand cheap stuff available in the supermarkets. That really pretty much set off my thinking, and I began to ask myself, how many of these assumptions do we as middle class Indians take for granted? How many of the things do we sort of rule out just because, we have never done it in the past? And that then began this whole drive into, understanding how what we consume impacts this planet and this environment. So I initially started by reducing the amount of plastic that I use, trying to buy a lot of stuff which was not wrapped in plastic. Very difficult in Switzerland when I was a student, but when I came back to India, I made a conscious effort, and I still do. So when I go to the shops, I tell the shopkeeper, listen, I don't want a thali because I have my bag. And when they come to deliver, and if they have thalis in their hand, I send those thalis back, the plastic wrappers back, the plastic bags back. So it's been really a wonderful journey. But is it really to share this? I mean, there are a lot of YouTube channels that I myself have been watching, and I know that you can get all of this information elsewhere. Why would you want to watch this channel? Well, because along the way, I realized that this is not just about saving the planet. To a very large extent, I began gaining more meaning in my life. I began looking at my own consumption, changing my own consumption, and that sort of pushed me to think about what gives me joy and happiness. And so much of those meaningless purchases that I made earlier just because something was available for a cheaper price uh, gave me happiness for a second, for a few minutes, maybe a few hours or a few days, but not beyond that. So I realized that so much of my consumption, so much of what I was buying and thinking that it would fulfill me, was not actually fulfilling me, and it wasn't giving me the meaning and the joy that I was looking for in this life. So I then realized along the way that there were so many other things that we could do that can give us a lot more joy. One of the wonderful things that I discovered along the way is gardening. We are in a tech driven world, I mean, I'm in front of my laptop most of the day. To be very honest, this past week, most of my day has been in front of the laptop because I'm also writing a paper. I'm trying to finish a paper this month. My deadline is close by. And our engagement, our physical engagement with the physical world around us is very limited. Discovering gardening was really such a revelation to me because I realized that I got this sense of peace and calm just touching the soil and doing something physical with my hands. As academics or even people who are doing desk jobs, we don't have that sense of, joy because we are not able to physically touch or see, to see what we kind of physically touch what we create. But in the garden, when you're growing something and you're able to touch the plant, you're able to see, for instance, now my broccoli and cauliflower is going crazy. So when you see the broccoli pop out and you touch it and you see the florets and you feel it, there is a sense of joy and contentment and a sense of satisfaction, that you have sort of really contributed to this wonderful thing. And that was missing in my life. So I'm hoping I can share some of these thoughts and some of these experiences with you, perhaps motivate you to do something slightly different in your life, to be able to live more satisfying and more content lives. Of course, the other benefits of it are always there. I'm growing organic produce, I'm growing organic vegetables that we consume on a regular basis. So, a lot of what we eat, the vegetables that we eat, are actually 100% organic, grown at home without any sprays, no fertilizers, nothing. I learned how to compost all my waste because I realized that dumping it in the garbage is so easy, but then it's going to be carried by a truck or a lorry all the way to a landfill somewhere and then burnt, and then it would add to the toxic pollution that we are already experiencing here in North India. And so I began to compost all my kitchen waste. I'm now in a garden space, so I compost all the prunings from my garden using a very simple method. I mean, these wonderful natural workers called earthworms, I mean, they do all my job for me. You must be wondering, like, I mean, this woman does all these things and she must be having a lot of time on her hands. Honestly, I don't. I probably get about, you know, 3 hours or 4 hours at the most every weekend to spend in my garden. I have sort of automated certain processes when it comes to watering or when it comes to, taking care of the plants outside. So the amount of time that I spend there are very limited. The way in which I compost requires very, very little time on my hand. Most of the time, I'm actually taking my kitchen waste and just dumping it in. Or when I do the prunings, I gather it, put it in a sack, put in a bunch of earthworms, tie up the sack, and my composting is done. I water the earthworms once a week. So I've sort of come out with these processes and these ways of doing things with very little time on hand. And when I get to spend those 3 or 4 hours every weekend in the garden, it gives me so much satisfaction. Of course, especially when I harvest, I'm going to do, this weekend I'm planning to do another harvest video, especially my broccoli and cauliflower, because I have a lot of them and they are ready to harvest. So stay tuned. I'm hoping to share a lot of these experiments and these ideas with you, and I look forward to seeing all of you on my channel. And do keep the conversation open, and love reading all your comments, and love receiving advice as well. So please let me know if you think I need to do things a little differently. Thank you, and once again, welcome to my channel.